time has many scales and many densities. So I'm confident that what we're doing here, creating models for new technologies that allow the human mind, if not eventually the human body, to explore higher dimensional space, not as an abstraction, but as the fabric of their own lives and the life of the culture and cultures in which we're all embedded.
Now, one thing we haven't talked about that's probably worth talking about is somebody pointed out that the pattern recurs. That lays the basis for a theory of resonance, so that, for instance, here I'll stop this so we can talk about it. If you have a perfect memory, you may recall that many screens ago we looked at a pattern like this, and I said Çatalhöyük was here, and Chaldea, Sumer, and Egypt were arranged along here. Well, this is the lower resonance of that. The idea being, then, that historical periods are in fact shaped by the historical period that they are in resonance with by this theory. So, for example, remember how I said the pyramids were built right down here, or the Great Pyramid at Giza? Well, if we look on this resonance, what we discover right down there is the rise of Nazi Germany. Now, saying that Nazi Germany is a resonance of pharaonic Egypt may at first seem counterintuitive until you start thinking about it, and then here's what you come up against. Egypt invented the idea of the god-king leader. The word pharaoh and the word Führer are thought by some people to have a common etymological root. The Egyptians also were the first people to really commit themselves to state-supported massive projects in the domain of tasteless architecture. This was something the Nazis were hugely into. Both used slave labor to build their massive and tasteless architectural constructions, and amazingly enough, both leaned heavily on the Jews for this labor, and yet separated by thousands of years, operating in different parts of the earth, but curiously connected by this wave generated out of the I Ching. I find this kind of thing very, very interesting. As an example, the day Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, I rushed to the computer to check the resonance. Resonance, birth of Muhammad. Same. Couldn't differentiate. So clearly, and so what happened in both cases is that people in a certain part of the world made an enormous surge forward into self-expression, if you want. And the whole Gulf War crisis paralleled the life of Muhammad, and when Muhammad died, the war was over. It was born at the resonance of his birth, and it was completed at the resonance of his death. I find this kind of thing very suggestive and quite uncanny. We are living through, in a 67-year period that stretches from 1945 to 2012, a compressed version of a larger historical epoch, 4,306 years long, that also ends in 2012. So that we have reached, by this reckoning, the late 700s right now. This is what we are living through. And ahead of us lies the Gothic Renaissance, the Renaissance, the European Enlightenment, the discovery of the Newtonian mechanics, the discovery of the New World, that all lies ahead of us. It all has to be compressed into the next 22 years of time. And that is what accounts for the crazy quality of modernity. It's what accounts for fads and fashions. You know, hemlines are rising and falling in a rhythm based on the rise and fall of empires millennia ago. And these things are as causally linked as the orbit of the Earth is linked to the sun, you see. Because we are being drawn toward the attractor through shorter and shorter epochs. And not only must the entire last 4,000 years of history be compressed into this 67-year period from 1945 to 2012, but there is a 384-day period preceding December 22nd, 2012, when the last 67 years and the last 4,300 years have to be compressed into that. Then there's a final 6-day period when all of these things are compressed again. And so do you see what's happening? The spiral is tightening as it goes faster